Dave, Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl winning quarterback, just right there. What's that tell you?
Yeah, I mean, look, give him all the flowers, right? He deserves it. He played pretty well throughout the whole stretch run. He led the Rams to multiple last-second game-winning drives, or maybe not last-second, but game-winning fourth-quarter drives. And he played a big role in everything that went on. The Rams went out and got him for a reason to win the Super Bowl. He delivered, helped that organization win the Super Bowl, so he deserves a whole lot of praise for that. Certainly, I know Lions fans are frustrated. You let a quarterback capable of winning a Super Bowl go, get out the door, and you don't win anything with them. It's got to be that's really got to drive you up a wall. But I think there's a couple separate issues there, right? I think the Lions have had their own issues. I don't think Matthew, as we've talked about before, he's still a part of what went on the past 12 years. Winning a Super Bowl in LA doesn't erase that. So this is not. I know some people out there sort of feel a part of this, like maybe the Lions somehow deserve a little share of it, but that there's no way, shape, or form that should be the truth. This is the Rams Super Bowl. This is Stafford Super Bowl. Congratulations to him. Time to move on to the Lions.
David, but how Lion-esque is this, right? I mean, you trade the guy in 1 year, he's a Super Bowl champ, and not only that, the first round pick that we could have had could have been 20, and they tell you, it's between 20 and 32. And what number do we get?
32.
Yeah. We get 32. It's so – my wife is sitting next to me watching the game, and she's like – she forgot. She's like, this is his second year, right? I'm like, no, it's his first year. How does Sheila Ford Hamp feel about – I mean, it's the perfect storm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, look, you're right, Maz. It's a dagger through Lions fans' hearts, right? Because this is a guy that for 12 years, they – told you, that the organization that is told you that, this is a guy who can win Super Bowls. Martin Mayhew, right? If we had 22 Matthew Stafford, we'd win the Super Bowl. I mean, this is something that they believed, but they never went out and surrounded him with the complete cast of characters, went all in like the Rams did. And, so the Rams, maybe the aggressive nature with which they built around their quarterback and the way that they built their roster ahead of acquiring that quarterback certainly helped set the stage for Stafford winning. I don't think Stafford wasn't going to have this type of success had he stayed in Detroit this year, and if the Lions would have traded him to Carolina, which I thought they should have done that. I wrote that back in the spring. He wasn't going to lead the Carolina Panthers to a Super Bowl, so I don't know that it's not like Matthew Stafford is all of a sudden Tom Brady, right? He's not winning Super Bowls wherever he goes. But the flip side, the Lions pick 32. I mean, I've always believed. Like I said, I wrote it back in the spring. When you have a chance to acquire a blue chip player, one of those elite, they were going to get one of the top 5 non-quarterbacks in the draft last year. If they traded with the Carolina Panthers, you got to do it because it's great. You need depth, but you really need some of those great players, the Aaron Donald types, the Odell Beckhams, the Cooper Kupps. I mean, those elite players, wherever you find them, you got to have those guys to win big in the NFL.
And on the other side, Von Miller, too. So Jalen Ramsey. Let's throw him in as well. So
Ramsey's the best cornerback in the NFL, even though he didn't have a great game yesterday. Donald, probably the best player in the NFL, right? Best non-quarterback in the NFL. So you have some really good players, and that's what you need. And your best chance of getting those guys is when you pick in the top 10. So that's why I thought the Lions should have taken that deal.
And right there, too, Dave, Aaron Donald right in your face when, let's face it, he was the pick over Ebron. Any dummy would have known that, but we digress. Now, what's the rumor I'm hearing? Tell me if this is true. That Matthew Stafford, when he asked for a trade, said, I will only go to the Rams or I will retire. Is that true?
Well, so I don't know. I was talking with somebody in the Lions organization a week or two ago sort of about that. I mean, that was sort of the rumor that you heard from across the NFL during the spring. Mm-hmm. Jay Glazer said something over the weekend that, Jay Glazer was a part of this whole, Cabo meetup with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and
Drew Brees.
And how all that went down. I mean, everyone, right? It seems like the whole NFL was in Cabo. That's where you need to go.
Exactly.
But Glazer said that, as Stafford and Whitworth were talking about it, that was the advice that Whitworth gave Matthew Stafford was that, hey, if they won't trade you here, tell them that that's the only place you want to go, or you'll retire. So I mean, the trade talks were pretty far along by that point, right? I mean, the Lions had engaged 8 teams or so in conversations, and the Rams were one of them, and Carolina was one of them, and I don't know that there was ever that ultimatum laid out. I was never able to confirm that back in the spring. And so did Stafford hint at something? Did he say something? Did the Lions just take his wishes into account? I think it's fair to say the Lions absolutely took his wishes into account. Did they, maybe think the Rams offer was the best deal anyway? That's what Brad Holmes says. So I take him at his word on it. I think the two offers were comparable, and it's just a matter of, what you want to do and how you want to build. And I will say this about Brad Holmes. I wrote this today on Freak.com, is that, he's playing the long game with this. And that's why he wanted, the extra first-round picks, because the Lions, as he said, are, they're the stage of competing for a championship that they are in right now is nowhere near what the Rams were when they acquired Matthew Stafford. So he's trying to do what the Rams did and build up the entire roster, and then you can go out and use your draft capital or trade up or do what you need to do to get that 1 or 2 final pieces. And hopefully it's not a quarterback for a team's sake, because that's the most difficult one to get.
Man, you better watch out playing that long game on a bad team, because you might not get too long to figure it out. Let me ask you this question. I'm watching the playoffs this year, Dave, and I'm just noticing this consistent thing, and that is greatness at the quarterback position, whether it's Josh Allen, whether it's Mahomes, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, who didn't have a great playoffs, but we know what he's capable of, Tom Brady, and then the 2 individuals that were on display last night, Matt Stafford and Joe Burrow. I'm just looking, I'm like, is Jared Goff, like, is he it for us? Like, can he get to that level if they move pieces around? Excuse me, I take a drink of water or something. Can he get to that level?
Like, is he the guy? Yeah, that's the question, Dave. I mean, is he the guy that can keep up in a postseason game with Stafford, with a Burrow, with a Mahomes? I don't know what's the other conference, but you understand the question.
I have my doubts about it. I mean, I think most people around the NFL would not put Jared Goff in the same category as those other guys, and I'm not even sure the Lions would. I mean, if you listen to everything that the Lions have said, he's going to compete for a job, and we believe in him, and he's got to prove himself. There's always a caveat, and they've never said, he's absolutely our guy, going forward. And so I think the Lions are realistic about what they have in the position. And here's the truth about Jared Goff: is he's 26 years old, right? So he still has some development ahead, right? He's still there's still maybe something that he can get to that he hasn't shown already. What he's shown so far, I don't think anybody would put him in that category. Now, he did take a team to a Super Bowl. I mean, he was the quarterback of a team that went to a Super Bowl. So, I don't think he's, we're not talking about like the worst starting quarterback in the NFL, right? He's not in like that Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen class, but there's something there to work with. Now, for me, Braylon, I'm with you. Like, I think you need that Mahomes type. I think you need that Josh Allen type, Joe Burrow, whatever it is, Aaron Rodgers, to have sustainable success in the NFL, to compete for championships for years upon end. And I don't think the Lions have that right now. But I do think the Lions are willing to see what they have in Jared one more year to see if maybe he can grow into that or become that or stay on the track to be that before they go out and get themselves a new quarterback.
Dave, with that being said, I really appreciate that answer. With that being said, what do we do in the meantime? Like, what can the Lions do this year? The draft class kind of looks like shake. You don't know if Malik Willis is going to be the one. You don't know if Kenny Pickett is going to be the guy. It's like 1 week they're in the top 5, next week they're in the second round.
There's no Burrow.
So like, it's no Burrow. There is no Mahomes. There is no. So what do you do in 2022? Is there a move you make with Marcus Mariota as a backup? I know I'm swinging for the fence right here. I don't know, but what is a right now type move that can help the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, well, that's what that's the paradox, I guess, that they're in, right? Because I think Goff is better than anyone out there that they're going to get. Realistically, they're not going to be in the Deshaun Watson, sweepstakes. So take a guy like that out of the mix, right? It's not like if the Packers were going to trade Aaron Rodgers, they're not trading him to the Lions. So again, you think about just the realistic options. I think Jared Goff is the guy. And look, I just maybe Malik Willis. Malik Willis is the type of quarterback that his skills, at least, are the type of quarterback that you can win because of, if he reaches his talent, not just with. And that's the type of quarterback that you need to win in the NFL. But I don't get the sense that the Lions are in, will be in on him at number 2. It's very early. Who knows We'll have to wait and hear plenty more about that. Maybe that changes. But I think ultimately they will go about building this like the Rams did. And it makes sense because Brad Holmes has that LA background. And you think about it, right? With the Rams, I mean, they drafted Brockers and Aaron Donald and Robert Quinn. They built this monster of a defensive line, right? The Lions did that on the offensive line. They had some parts, but they took Sewell last year. They want to have the same thing. Now, in theory, they can try to do the same thing on defense. You add an Aiden Hutchinson, perhaps with number 2. You know, they spent a couple draft picks on defensive linemen, second and third rounders last year. So in theory, you're building all these other spots so that a year or two from now, when you feel like you are closer to competing for that Super Bowl, then you can go out and use that extra draft capital or spend that money in free agency or make whatever moves that you can to address those other areas. Now, again, you know, the Rams, they did it. They traded up to try to get Jared Goff, right? Then they traded up to get Jalen Ramsey. And then when they realized Goff wasn't the guy, they traded up, you know, they traded for Matthew Stafford. So there's a lot of moves. There's a lot of things that have to go right when you don't have the guy at the quarterback position to be there. But I think you can tread water for a little bit at least while you're trying to get there, especially when you start from the point the Lions started at.
Talking to Dave Birkett, Lions writer, Detroit Free Press. Dave, I wanted to ask you, you know, earlier today we were talking about Sheila Ford Hamp, and this couldn't have been a worse year if you tried. I mean, booed off the field in the Calvin situation, didn't speak during Chris Spielman's Ring of Honor. Then Matthew Stafford wins the Super Bowl. You win 3 games. What is this organization's timetable moving forward? I mean, I said this last time, and I do believe they are one Aaron Rodgers decision away from not only competing for a playoff berth, but competing for a division title. But they've got to do it. And I mentioned this too. I'm a sicko that believes that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are the right guys to do this and are gonna get this thing right. But as an organization, they wake up this morning and think what?
Well, if they're being honest with themselves, they have to think like, man, we missed an opportunity, right? For the last 12 years, we had a quarterback that could take you to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl, and those guys are rare in the NFL, and they squandered it. I mean, but you know, that wasn't Sheila Ford Hamp's doing. Obviously, she wasn't, you know, in the driver's seat for all of that. So I think the thing now is that, hey, next time we get ourselves in a position to have a quarterback like that we, you know, maybe you understand that you have to go for it, right? You can't. I mean, going all in is not a bad thing, right? Using all these draft picks to take the Rams have been to 2 Super Bowls now in what, 3 years, 4 years, right? And they've won a couple division titles. So when you have the chance to go for it, when that window is there, you got to take your shot. I mean, it's just, you know, be a shooter, right? Shoot or shoot. And
I don't think they've had a first round pick since like 18.
Shoot, Goff was the last
5 years. 5 years.
16. Yeah.
Because they traded 17 in the Goff trade. They traded 18 just to move down in the draft. They traded 19 and 20 for Jalen Ramsey, and you know, so that, I mean, they just haven't had one in a long time. So you take your shot. But look, again, I think the Lions, they understand where they're at in this rebuild. So you know, it's good to practice patience.
Did we lose Dave? You
He's talking. I think he hit the mute button.
Oh, Dave, I think you hit mute.
Oh,
there you go. Yeah.
There it is. I had something to say. I'm with the mute. I had to go into
That's all right. He lost his train of thought. Maz, you got one before we get Dave out of here?
Yeah, Dave, we're going to see you in a couple of weeks. We'll talk to you again because the Combine is coming up. I can't wait. Let's go. Let's keep this football season going.
You guys going down to the Combine?
No.
We should.
We'd love to.
We should. We probably could.
I think I can still run the 40 right now. I got about a 7.5.
Get a Braylon Edwards 40.
I got about 7.5 for you.
We'd love to go. 40. Oh yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt, bro.
Here's a good question, or maybe it's a statement. The Lions have to pay attention. Sheila Ford Hamp, talking to her directly right now, because yes, Matt Stafford, they won the Super Bowl, and he did things necessary. 3 comeback drives in the playoffs. He not all season. He had a good season. Let's go there. But that's not a Josh Allen situation, is Matt Stafford. That's not a Patrick Mahomes when he was on as Patrick Mahomes and insert the next great quarterback here. Matt Stafford was a piece around the team, and that's what I want them to pay attention to, because Matt Stafford played well. He still had 5 pick sixes in December. He still did some Matt Stafford type things of that nature. But when you got Aaron Donald on the other side, you can win when you bring in a Von Miller during the season where you're like, I think it's still something left on that tire. I think it's, some tread on that tire. When you go get Odell after nobody seemed to want him, those are how you make moves to win. Like, I want them to pay attention to that, because it's not like Matt Stafford went out there and was some quarterback threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. He went out there and had a really good year, but he had good players around him, and that's what the Rams do. I want her to pay attention to that.
Yeah. No, Braylon, I think you're right, because, we've had this debate about Stafford in the Hall of Fame and everything all along, right? I mean, Stafford's a good quarterback. He always has been, but I don't know that he's, in that elite category, like you said. I mean, he led the NFL in interceptions this year. So it's really a sliding scale when it comes to quarterback play in the NFL. And the better your quarterback is, the more room for error you have as an organization and as a team. And so that's why I say, right, you don't have to have Mahomes to win. You don't have to have Tom Brady to win. But when you have that, you're going to win a lot, and you're always going to be in the conversation. And as that quarterback gets, down a rung, another rung, that's when you have to have the better supporting cast around them. And so the Rams started by building up that supporting cast because they didn't have the quarterback. Then they went out and tried Goff, and he didn't work. Then they went out and got Stafford, and he worked. And I think, because the Lions don't have that quarterback and they're not in position to get one this year at number 2, I think they build the exact same way, where they're building that supporting cast. They build a strong offensive line, maybe a good defensive line with, whoever they get at number 2 this year. And then all of a sudden, when the rest of your roster is to the point that you think you can compete and you're a player away from a championship, then if you haven't by that time, then you maybe have the wherewithal to go out and get a quarterback through draft picks or other assets that you have. Maybe you can become a player in the trade market for a major guy. Should these the way that the NFL has gone, where some of these guys have some say in where they want to play, should that continue?
The great Dave Birkett, Lions beat writer, Detroit Free Press. We certainly appreciate it, Dave. Combine, free agency, NFL draft, football season ain't over yet, baby. We got plenty to go. What do they say? The number 1 sport in the country is football. The second most important sport is football off season, right? That's what it is. 100%. Thanks, Dave. We certainly appreciate it, bud.
Thanks for everything.
Got it, guys. Talk to you again.
You got it. Follow Dave on Twitter at Dave Birkett, and of course read him on Freak.com.
You've reached the end of the video. You know what you should do? Press like. You know you like the content that we have here at Woodward Sports Network. I'm Braylon Edwards from the bottom line. Subscribe to us right now.